Why does a company need a data warehouse?
I think every company has like a lot of different, first of all, data, but also data sources. And the hard thing is to combine all those data points at the end. So what you need to do is, first of all, take all the raw data you have from your like backend systems. Like if you have a normal e-commerce, you have order data, you have customer data, you have data about your products, and that's normally from one data source. So it's, I would say, maybe not easy, but it's convenient to analyze the data from this particular data source. But then you also would like to know when customers are coming to your website, for example. So in that particular moment, you have a second data source. So you need to combine all those two data points. That's, I think, the first important problem you need to solve. And second of all the like raw data sources are not really optimized for analyzing data. They're optimized more for quick operations. And I think we can talk a little bit like deeper about that in the upcoming videos. But that's the important thing of having a data warehouse, to really connect every like employee in the organization with data.
But would you say, for example, if you have just an e-commerce shop, for example, that you really need a data warehouse? Because, for example, you have tracking it, then you have maybe Google Analytics or other stuff. Do you really need then a data warehouse if you don't have other data you want to connect?
I think it really depends on the size of the company, first of all, and your goals you have. If you're a very, very small shop and most of your transactions are happening offline, you know, your customer's quite good, or you only sell one product, then of course sometimes, first of all, it's enough to check the sales data in your shop system. Yeah. And maybe you also need someone who's really aware of like what to analyze. If you don't have that, then of course the cost of the whole data warehouse building process might also then exceed what you are like going to do or going to analyze. Because at the end, one thing is kind of clear: you need to the costs you invest in a system like that should be somehow also optimize your business. Otherwise, you don't need to start it.
No. And when I always hear people talking about data warehousing, it's always, or more often, focused on cloud solutions, no? Like it's always in that direction. What would be the argument towards going for a case like this instead of going something on-premise?
I think we came a long way from on-premise to now cloud computing. I think the good thing with cloud computing is that you have like limitless power somewhere, and you can scale the system quite good. And that means if you have your own machine in your company, that has one very good thing. It's your machine. It's like your hardware, and it's like belonging to your company. But on the other side, it's very limited in terms of the resources you have and the power you have. And you can also not quickly say, I need more power today. And I think, including a lot of other factors, of course, that's for me at least the most important thing why we are going with cloud infrastructure.
And I think most of the customers are more and more open-minded for cloud solutions, right? So when you are looking back 10, 15, 20 years, they always say, I want to have it in my own room, in my own house, and I don't want it in the cloud because I do not know what these companies are doing with the data and so on. But I think in terms of that it's getting normal stuff, it's already good to have it, and there are more advantages than disadvantages, I would say.
Yeah, and what you should also not forget is that if you use a cloud solution, that comes normally with a big platform. That means you have a lot of other tools in this big platform you can use, and when you are in one ecosystem, it's super easy to also exchange data back and forth between those systems. And that makes it super convenient at the end, and also very easy to use, and also very easy to start for everyone. You don't need to buy that hardware. You just set it up and you're completely fine.
Yeah, so that is, but that is the most important thing, right? So this whole ecosystem. So if you have all of your platforms in Microsoft, for example, maybe it makes not sense to put your data warehouse in BigQuery. So then you can use Azure Synapse. So
definitely yes.
Because then the whole connection to all of the systems and ecosystems is way better and easier as when you put everything to BigQuery.
I think we can go way deeper into that. I think there's way more to tell about when it comes to different ecosystems, and we will dig a little bit deeper inside at a later stage. But first of all, completely right, Alex. It really depends on what you're doing, what kind of ecosystem you're using, what kind of user login you have, and then a certain ecosystem makes sense for you or might not.
Yeah. What are some of the examples of the tools that are part of this ecosystem? What could I think? Okay, if I'm going for a Google Cloud Platform because I've heard of BigQuery, what else comes with this ecosystem? What are these type of tools that are going to allow me to do?
So first of all, the main database comes with it. So if you talk about data warehousing, most important thing is the database, where the data is inside and where you query the data, but also like analyze the data. But there's way more stuff to know. So you need to get the data inside. And this is where the whole complex process is starting at the end. So you can take batches of data, like big amounts of data, and put it in your database with one writing operation. But you can also continuously stream data inside your platform. And therefore you need also different tools, different techniques, which are normally coming with every ecosystem and also every platform. Second of all, you have a lot of business processes going on in your company. That means you have marketing, you have maybe NPS, asking your customers for feedback, you have advertisement products like Google Ads, Facebook, affiliate, and at the end, first of all, you need all those data points inside your database. But second of all, you also maybe need to exchange information through those tools. And this is there where it gets, first of all, complex. But second of all, sometimes there's a sweet spot where a certain ecosystem is better or not. So this is also where you cannot really say this ecosystem is the best ecosystem for everyone, right? It really depends on the use case.
Yeah. So Thomas, so we have 3 layers, right? So we have the raw data, then we have the transforming data, and then we have the visualization. I'm not sure, would you say that the visualization is still part of the data warehouse? Or would you say it's an external part?
That's a very good question. I would not say I have a clear answer for that. I would more say, so for me, it would be part of the data warehousing because that's basically the layer everyone in the company is accessing. At the end, for different people, the term data warehouse means different things. One would say that's the data lake, the other would say that's the database behind that. Another one, like for example, me would say that's the whole project around that. That starts with like getting the data inside the systems, that continues with transforming data and also making this whole process automatic. And this ends at the end with visualizing the data and displaying to the rest of the company or other stakeholders outside of the company.
Yeah. What other concepts are we missing when we talk about data warehouse in an introduction and someone wants to get familiar with the topic? What are some keywords that they should keep in mind?
Yeah, so single source of truth, I would say. So
for me, the most important one.
So that you really have at least one table for products and one table for sales and so on, one table for customers if you have this and so on. And that it's really, really easy to handle it and that it's really for sure truth. So that is really important. Then for sure scalability and maybe also redundancy, but that is a different topic, I would say. Yeah, so these are important, and also defined metrics, right? So that you have really that you say, okay, we have 5 revenue columns, for example, and everybody has to know which column you have to choose when you want to show which revenue.
So let's start at single point of truth first of all. I'm never tired to say that's the most important thing for me. And what does that mean? Maybe to explain it a little bit more in detail. So whoever in the company, for the stakeholders, whoever is like touching data from your data analytics solutions should get the same results. And the foundation for that is single point of truth. That means that every data you calculate, you store, needs to be at one particular place. Let us do an example. Let us say we calculate revenue for our orders or for our like shop. Then if someone is asking for the gross revenue of yesterday, it's a no-go that this information is in two separate places, because the probability that the consistency is not giving of the data is then quite high. So even if you make sure with certain processes that one place and the other place are like written in parallel and so on, you could argue that's a good idea. I would say no. I would say there should always be one place where the data is stored. And you talked about redundancy, right? If you do certain redundancy, if you say, okay, this like kind of information need to be somewhere else for performance reasons, for like democracy, there are different reasons why you should do that or can do that, but then need to make sure that the calculation of this data need to be at one place, and then just take the information, like the calculated information, and copy it somewhere else, because then you can be 100% sure that consistency is given.
Maybe also important here that we always have denormalized tables in data warehouses. So, for example, if you have an operational database, it's normally normalized. But if you have analytics data and data warehouse data, it's mostly denormalized. So you have for sure redundancy in the data. So that is maybe really important to say.
Yeah. And I mean, with operational databases, you would never hold redundant data. And with analytical databases, out for performance reasons, sometimes it makes sense. So that would maybe be also a good point to talk a little bit more about what an analytical system is why an analytical system is completely different to an operational system. I'm not quite sure, Ricardo, when this is on the plan, but that's probably interesting also for everyone when we talk about analytical systems.
So let's say someone is trying to pitch a data warehouse for their company, no? And they talk about how useful it would be to have a single point of truth, and setting aside the technical factors of having a cloud solution that allows for scalability and everything is set up, how they pitch, okay, our company needs a data warehouse because...
I think the most important fact for convincing someone to have a data warehouse is that you define KPIs and put it in one place. Exactly the things Alex said at the beginning. If you don't have a data warehouse, this is definitely not given, right? You have the information separated somewhere. You can still access it. That's for sure. But probably I would guess everyone would do it a little bit different. And this is exactly the point where results or analysis will be then different based on the department which is analyzing the data, which should not be the case at the end.
Yeah, so that is really important, right? So that you have really people which are showing that on the data which comes out from the data warehouse. So there we are all again in the visualization part. So for example, there are two ways, right? So you can say, okay, some people building the dashboards or building the visualization, and some people are just watching them. So you have tools for that, but you can also say, okay, I just give them the data, and everybody who wants to see the data also can build their own graphs and tables and so on, and can also analyze it. So these are also two approaches you can do.
It's also a tricky question, which is very often asked. So who should be able to calculate information, and who should be able to just read information or watch dashboards? So first of all, of course, you would like to enable everyone to work with the system. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, the more you enable the people, the more things can happen due to the fact that they don't know the data structure behind it, that they don't know certain steps of data cleaning, filtering, or just certain edge cases, which in bigger projects always appear. And then mistakes can happen, and then you can also get wrong results. So you need to find, there's no clear answer, I would say. You need to find a good way for your company how much you enable everyone to use the system and how much degrees of freedom you would like to give everyone, right? Modern tools try to build everything in a way that everyone who's using the system can do a lot of things very easily with drag and drop and so on. I'm a little bit more old school and say that's in a lot of cases not really good and leads to a lot of mistakes and errors.
I think that the part of enabling or empowering, like how the process of transformation is made and everything, that's a separate topic. But like what I see and hearing you talk about the advantages and the structure behind a data warehouse, I think of the possibility for team members to be empowered to make analysis out of the data and know that the fundamental figures underneath are equal for everyone. Not I'm going to be talking from an operational side with a marketing team, and we're going to be talking about a same concept, so to say, but the underlying calculation behind it is different. And having this structure where everyone is going to go and know that this, the famous single point or single source of truth, that is, we're going to be talking about the same basis thing, allows for way more sophisticated conversations about the analysis of the actual operations or strategy of the company.
I think you brought a very good point. I mean, data should be available, data should be seen to everyone. Of course, there are data points inside every company which cannot be shared to everyone, like to every employee, to every like department. Like if you have analysis for your employee structure, like salaries, of course that should not be seen to everyone. But when it comes to operational data or to marketing data, why should only the marketing team see their KPIs, their performances? So a very good example is always that when you have a bigger organization which is doing a lot of marketing and you know that certain campaigns are like upcoming and a certain budget is planned already from the marketing team or from C-level management, then sometimes it would be good if operations or merchandise or which departments ever see that, right? Because in every, like, there are definitely companies where communication works super good, but there are, I guess, also a lot of companies where communication is, let's say in a nice way, not like
could be improved.
Could be improved, yeah, exactly. So, and then a system like that helps because it gives transparency. And if you plan as a merchandise manager who's buying products, okay, this product is maybe out of stock in 2 weeks because you know, because it's your famous, well-known product, and you can plan it quite good. But tomorrow, a super, super big marketing campaign is like going through the roof, and you didn't know that, then the products are out of stock. And this could have been improved if information are transparent to everyone. And then, of course, it's important that the transformation is it's a foundation and a very basic step in the company.
Yeah. So this was a bit of an introduction of how the data warehousing in general, why would a company need it? But if you're watching this is a short part of our series of introduction into data warehousing, and we're going to be making a couple more videos going more into detail into what are the data warehousing solutions available in the market, what are the setups and the differences between them. Also, how the actual workflow of the data warehousing process looks like. What does it look? Some best practices, some advices of how to do. And also for someone who's in general curious about it. So if you like it, this is going to be set up as a playlist series of YouTube videos. And you can just continue watching.
And by comment, I would say really important, so that you really show us maybe or say us what is more important for you, what maybe we should go more in detail. And also maybe if we say something you are not agree with, we can also say. And then maybe we do another part where we also go into the comments and check it. So let's see.
I think comments for us is super important for feedback. Do you like it? What like deeper questions do you have, right? Also for upcoming content. And we will grab that up, we will analyze that, and of course we will analyze that.
Make an own data warehouse for that.
Yeah, definitely, yes. Without user data, of course. Yeah. So I hope you like it, and see you in the next video.